feel like those drinking glasses you get from Kohl's just don't hold up?
Tired of your glasses breaking at the slightest pressure when you're washing them or if they just tip over?
Then boy do we have a solution for you. Just make your own from wine bottles.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Beth.
We're the haters.
Wine bottles can make the perfect drinking glass. Just chop off the top and you end up with a sturdy cup of thick glass that can withstand the stresses of everyday use.
The beauty of using wine bottles to make glasses is that you can find wine bottles pretty easily. They're easily accessible, especially if you drink your own wine. And the cool thing is that your glass collection will be completely unique. Whether you make your glasses out of all of the same wine bottle or you have a hodgepodge collection of different colors and designs that are your favorite, your glasses will certainly be unique, unlike anyone else's.
So come along and we'll show you how to turn this
into this.
Hey guys, real quick before we get started, whether you're new here or returning, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We're new YouTubers, so every individual subscription really makes a big difference. And if you like the content that we're putting out, be sure to give us that feedback, that positive reinforcement that we need to keep going. We really appreciate it. So, hit that like button and subscribe. See, Ben? Begging's not that humiliating.
Now the first step of this whole project, and the step that you guys probably think is going to be the most difficult, is actually cutting the top off of the wine bottle. Now this step is not as difficult as you may think, you just need the proper tools for the job. The simplest way to get this done would be to actually buy a tool that is used to cut wine bottles. They actually make this tool. It looks something like this. You can buy it online on Amazon. I think it runs about $27. We'll put an affiliate link down below and you can use that. I'm sure it would help us out a great deal. They also make one of these tools, I think, at Hobby Lobby, and you can buy it there for 18 bucks maybe. Haven't used it, don't know how well it works, don't know how well any of these things work since we opted to build our own. As you know, our motto is, why buy it when you can build it? Given that my wife and I are into stained glass, we had a couple of these guys lying around. This is a glass score, and it's used for cutting typically panes of glass into different shapes for stained glass. It works really well for that. The trick for this is to try to cut along a curved surface in a perfectly straight line and not go off so that it breaks in just the perfect way. So in order to make that work for us, we had to develop a jig. So we came up with something like this. It's just scrap wood, really easy to make. Just took a couple screws and a couple of pieces of wood we had lying around. Two boards that are long-ish, screwed together at a 90-degree angle. Square piece on the side with, on which the bottle can rest. And it just sits in there perfectly and someone can spin it like so. The key part is the top here, which is another piece of wood that has several holes drilled into it so that the score can fit in it at different lengths. I'll show you how that works. The other cool thing about this is that you can fit pieces of scrap wood in here if you want to adjust the height of each glass a little further, and it's totally customizable. Whatever height you need to reach, you can. So the way it works is it's a two-person job. One person will hold the bottle firmly and spin it, and the other person will hold the score down as it spins, and that ensures that a perfectly straight line is cut all the way across the bottle. Works like a charm. Alright, so now that we have scored our bottle, we need to separate the top from the bottom. So what we've got here is a tea light and some ice water, and that's going to make it happen.
So what Ben's going to do, light up the candle. He's going to spin the bottle slowly over the fire, just trying to warm up that section where that score is. And after he warms it up and thinks it's pretty hot, expanding that glass, he's gonna quickly dunk it into this ice water, and then we might have to go back and forth a few times, but eventually you'll hear it just crack a little bit or completely snap off. And just like that, we have our glass in its final shape. But before we drink out of it, we need to deal with that sharp rim. The next step is the most labor-intensive part of this process, but still, it's not that difficult.
The first thing that you're going to need is a drill. Though suppose that you could do the whole thing by hand if you really wanted to. You can use a drum sander drill attachment with various grits of sandpaper attached to get the interior edge of the glass. And you can also use a disc sander attachment with various grits of sandpaper to get the outside edges. Ours uses adhesive attachment, but a Velcro attachment mechanism would work just fine too.
It's important that you do this part of the project outside and with proper protective equipment. This process creates quite a bit of glass dust, which even more than sawdust is really not good to get into your lungs. Just use common sense.
Since we have the two of us, we like for one person to hold the drill and for the other to manipulate the glass. But you could just as easily put the drill into a vise or something so that only one person would be needed to work the glass.
As you can see, we like to go around the glass at a few different angles so that the finished product will have a nice and rounded rim. In this shot, the primary sanding is not yet complete. We have it roughly sanded and the glass will no longer cut anyone, but it is not yet smooth. We still need to pass over it with more pieces of sandpaper of increasing grit. Also, the inside edge still has a bit of a corner to it, but that's what the drum sander is for. Here's where you can see the importance of that protective equipment. The sanding really produces some glass dust.
This was actually the first time that we ever used a drum sander for this project, and we were beyond pleased with the short work that it made of the interior of the glass. Before this, we had just used our biggest nut driver bit with a piece of sandpaper wrapped around it attached with double-sided sticky tape. That took much longer and was much more time-consuming than this method. Granted, it was cheaper.
We now have the rim of the glass in the right shape, but the glass is not perfectly smooth, so we'll move on to what I call secondary sanding. We started with 120 and 180 grit sandpaper, but by the time we end, we want to be around 600.
At this point, we found it difficult to find these high grit attachments for our drill. So we opted for just buying sheets of sandpaper and then taping them to a board that we had. From there, it was simply a matter of rubbing the glass on the paper as opposed to the paper on the glass.
Just like in the previous step, we will sand the glass at a bunch of different angles, ensuring a nice rounded edge. Once we have made a few passes on one sheet, we will move on to the next, repeating the whole process.
As you can see, the exterior of the rim is now looking darker. This is the final texture that we are shooting for. But the interior still has that rough, glossy white texture. We will need to make them match. To do this, we taped some of our higher grit sandpaper to our drum sander attachment. After some trial and error, we were able to make it work. And after a little bit of hand sanding, all that was left to do was wash out the glass dust and have a tall glass of water.
Well, there you have it, a one-of-a-kind homemade drinking glass that anyone can make. We hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll try it for yourself.
This is quickly becoming one of our favorite projects to make, and now we're constantly on the lookout for new and cool looking bottles that we can turn into equally cool looking glasses.
We hope to put up some more videos of our hobbies and adventures, so if you want to come along for the ride,
Then make sure you subscribe.